Hey everybody, Chuck Barone on Friday, October the 11th, 2024. Let's wrap up a record-breaking week, guys. Holy crap, man. These markets going freaking bananas. As bad as everything was yesterday, right? Because the market certainly did not really care for the CPI numbers, especially that top line number, but record-breaking. I mean, the numbers were different. These stock market doesn't care. It's a bull that's going to keep on running, guys. And this PPI number smoothed out all that CPI stuff from yesterday. And guess what? New records for the Dow and the S&P 500 again today. Wow, it's crazy, man. And it's funny to me because here we are. Now, if you're a guy who's all in on the stock market, man, you're just raking it this year. The S&P is up over 20%. Probably more now today with the last couple of days breaking friggin' records every day, and pretty hard to not be doing well in this market. If you have certain stocks, if you're a Tesla guy, you didn't have a great day today, but everybody else seemed to. Anyway, I babble, I get going. Before I get rolling, let me take a half a second. As always, welcome everybody to the show, all five of us, and as always, thank you guys. Really, Wolf, Para, the guys on the chat, everybody else who shows up every day. It means a lot to me, guys. I appreciate you guys. I do. All right, markets. So we knew we were going to get PPI today. We did. Number comes in flat, completely unchanged. So the markets take that as a yay. Now the Fed can cut rates. So the markets blast off. The Dow Jones Industrial up 409 points. 42,863, another record for the Dow. The NASDAQ up 60 points, 18,342. And the S&P up 34 points, 5,815 for the S&P. Another record there. Looks like you're going to see S&P 6,000, guys. It's crazy, crazy numbers, man. The stock market just on a rocket ride. And I don't know. I'm going to have to believe that stocks are going to continue to rise until I see some real earnings declines. Now, bank stocks are kind of the leading indicator about how earnings are going to go for most companies. Today we had BlackRock, Wells Fargo, Goldman, or no, not Goldman, but JP Morgan, all announcing earnings, all beating, and all stocks rising, rising, rising. So that's an indicator that earnings are going to continue to be good for corporations. Another indicator that the stock market will continue to rise. The bond market today, well, bonds being people buying bonds today. So the 2-year falls 4 basis points, 3.95% on the 2-year. The 10-year falls just 2 basis points, 407 on the 10-year. So people buying bonds today, yields coming down. I think that, the PPI number, the effect there, obviously, people thinking that there might be room for this half-point cut. I really don't think there is, but the market believing there could be. I think that's why you saw bonds being bought up today. The dollar, little bit of a gain today, up 3 basis points on the index, 102.91 on the dollar index. So the dollar holding its own, still strong and looking good. In spite of a strong dollar, precious metals had a nice rally today. Gold rallies up $26.10, now at $2,657 even. Great price for an ounce of gold. Silver rallies up 37 cents, $31.48 for an ounce of silver. We're going to see a big rally in silver sooner or later because if gold cannot be 100 times more expensive than silver is, can it? So you're going to have $3,000 gold and you're going to have $30 silver. I just don't see that happening. I'm telling you guys, silver is going to catch a big rally here sooner or later. Let's make sure we're all in on it. Or either that or gold's going to tank, and I just don't see that happening. Oil today falls 14 cents only, $75.71. Kind of right where we expect it to be. What we believe, 70 to 75 is our trough. And That's kind of right where it is. And even with the big threat of war in the Middle East, that's the only reason you're seeing oil above $75 at all. Now we got a weekend coming up. Next move is Israel's. I think if Israel does not really go all in with a uh, big damaging attack on the Iranians, I think then oil prices will start to come down. If you see Israel come in with a really strong attack, or they attack their nuclear facilities or their oil facilities, then you're going to see oil spike like crazy. Bitcoin today, a great day for Bitcoin, rallies up $3,425. Now it's $62,998 last time I looked. So what a great rally for Bitcoin. I was concerned yesterday when it broke that support number at 60,000. Well, it came roaring right back today. Now it's almost $3,000 above that number. So good move, a good thing for Bitcoin. If you're a Bitcoin holder, know that every day it stays above this 60,000 number is another day closer to the next jump to 70,000. Okay, let's talk about data today. We got some data in today. We got this PPI number. Now, the producer price index is different than the consumer price index, which we got yesterday. The consumer price index is retail cost. So that's the cost we pay when we go to stores to buy. The producer price index is the wholesale number. That's the price that retailers pay when they buy, right? So when PPI is up, it's usually a pretty good signal that CPI will follow suit, because retailers aren't going to eat higher prices. They pass those along. So a neutral PPI number like we got today, literally unchanged on the headline number, great news. Because that means the inflation scenario down the road, at least unless these stores just continue to raise prices in spite of their own costs not rising, means prices are going to slow down. So this market really, really liked it. Now the headline number came in at 1.8% year over year. So now they're finally have managed to get the number below their 2% target. Now this is PPI, not the consumer price. Still a little bit of work to do there. But this is the smallest gain on the PPI in 7 months. The core number rose 0.1% over the month, which is what they expected, 3.2% year over year. So there's another one of those little things I don't like, because typically the headline number is going to be higher than the core number. So this means there's some underlying pressure there. I'm guessing it's going to be, cost of living as far as your housing costs, rents and mortgages, probably keeping that flow, because that kind of lags the way they factor it in. But we'll see. Now, the nice thing about this number, it broke it down a little bit. So services were up very small, but goods, a lot of goods actually starting to come down in price. I think retailers understanding that, they might have raised their prices a little too high, consumers slamming their wallets shut. So prices actually starting to drift down on some stuff. I read a whole big article about Pepsi-Cola. They raised their prices on their sodas, on their snack line, their Lay's, Doritos, and all the rest, Frito-Lay. So everybody that buys potato chips knows. A bag of Lay's that used to be about $2.50 is now about $5, and it's still 3/4 or at least 2/3 of air. The bag's this big, but the chips in it are only this big, right? So now even Pepsi under big pressure to start lowering their costs. Retailers also putting pressure on suppliers to lower costs, because the retailers get the blame. Pepsi raises the costs, but you don't buy directly from Pepsi. You buy from Walmart or Albertsons or wherever. So they're taking the brunt of the blame and the anger for their suppliers raising prices. So now they're actually fighting back, trying to put pressure on suppliers to hold the line on prices or even reduce them. So really good news today for the Fed, especially after yesterday's hot CPI number. It's interesting that inflation has actually fell yesterday. The CPI number was not, inflation didn't go up on that number. Inflation actually came down, but it was higher than what the markets expected. So it was kind of deemed a bad reading there. Also interesting that we have everything breaking records, right? Stock market, gold, Bitcoin, everything going up, 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 up. And consumers still pissed. They still feel like the economy is crap. They're still angry big at the government, blaming them, right? They're not so much mad at the retailers who are actually the cause of all this stuff, greedy corporations and stuff, and not to mention legit inflation from printing money and supply chain issues. But corporations did raise prices way more than their costs went up, and you can see this by record profit margins. Corporations, now I'm guessing, I haven't seen the numbers for this month or even last month, but corporations had been recording profit margins at 50, 70-year highs, highest since the 50s. So we know that corporations raised prices higher than their costs rose. So now they're starting to give a little bit of that back. I really think it's interesting. Consumer sentiment, also part of this report, falling in a big way, though, guys. This goes to show you what I was saying. Even though the economy and what you look at as gauge, is this economy good, are all go, 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 consumers saying no, no, no. Consumer sentiment, listen to this, guys. Consumer sentiment shows higher prices have consumers pissed off, and no amount of economic good news, like record-breaking stock market's going to change their mind about it, right? They're not feeling better about anything, even with the news they're hearing. It goes right back to the price of, the price of stuff at the supermarket, right? Now this is interesting because consumer sentiment fell to 68.9 on the index from last month's 70.1. Analysts expected consumer sentiment to be higher. They were expecting a number of 70.8. So even though the economy looks good, stock market looks good, people's 401ks look good, you still have a lot of negatives here. Record debts, super low savings rate, high prices at the supermarket and wherever people are buying stuff. Really, really, really crazy times, though, guys. I mean, ordinarily, when the stock market's breaking records every other day, typically people are in a pretty happy mood. They feel like things are going well in the country. They feel like the country is on the right track. Well, if you look at the way consumers feel, I think they said more than 50%, more than half, higher than half, around 60% feel like the country's on the wrong track. So just the weirdest paradox there, that doesn't matter what the news is from the economy, consumers are going to feel like consumers are going to feel. S&P breaking records again. The S&P is up 62% since this time in 2022. 62 freaking percent, guys. Nuts, man. The S&P just passed $50 trillion in total value. And when this market is an ongoing bull starting back in 1982 when Volcker broke the inflation and they started with 25 years of rate cuts. The S&P is up 50-fold, 50 times what it was at when this run started in 1982. 50 friggin' times. So imagine if you put 10 grand into an S&P index fund, right? You're looking at a gigantic return. Now, granted, it's over 40 years, but nonetheless, this goes to show you the power of compounding and what the stock market's really all about. Companies lowering prices. I'm telling you guys, there was a long list today. You go to CNBC's site, you can read this, talking about the prices in the grocery stores, used cars, mostly material stuff, apparel, and all these different categories they had, and showing how much prices have come down. Fascinating stuff, because I don't know, man, it doesn't feel like it to me. It doesn't feel like prices are coming down, especially on the stuff I buy all the time. It's not, but that's what the numbers say. BlackRock, man, these guys, listen to this, guys. BlackRock just passed. I heard Fink this morning on CNBC. BlackRock just passed $11.5 trillion in assets under management. I mean, when you factor in just a few companies, BlackRock, Vanguard, and a few of these others, man, the pool of resources they have. I mean, when you have $11.5 trillion under your management, you can pretty much, if you want to, make the market do whatever you want it to do. You got that kind of power. I'm not so sure that this concentration is a great idea, but BlackRock must be getting the returns to attract that kind of money. Am I right, guys? So, wow, $11.5 trillion freaking dollars. One company managing. Nuts. And this is going to be an interesting time over the next couple of months with the data we're going to get, because the data is going to go like this. I'll tell you why. Strikes, a lot of strikers, man, a lot of things happening. We saw the ports. We're seeing Boeing, unions getting a little more active, a little more aggressive. And you got storms. Helene spiking unemployment everywhere it's smashed. Now you got Milton coming in right behind it. So this is going to skew a lot of numbers. So it's going to make the Fed's job of actually deciphering what all these numbers really mean 100 freaking times harder. So it's going to be a really, again, I've been saying we live in interesting times, guys. People were going to write books, historians, economic students, all going to read about the era we're living through right now, because it feels normal because we're living through it, but I'm telling you it's not, and I'm telling you we're living through some extraordinarily crazy times. It is what it is. And finally, Boeing, we've been talking about the troubles they're having. Once one of the best companies in the world, just a friggin' disaster. Now Boeing, they got the strike, so they're crippled. They're losing millions and millions of dollars every single day. Today, Boeing comes out, announces they're laying off 17,000 workers, about 10% of their workforce. I'm not sure if that's a retaliation at the unions who are on strike. I'm not sure if just the massive losses they're suffering, they had to do this to kind of try to, keep the red ink, not a complete tsunami of it. But it's bad news for one of the best companies in the country. Bad news for a Dow component. Bad news. It just sucks, man. And it's sad that at one time Boeing was unparalleled champion of airlines. Aircraft producers, commercial aircraft. Now they're barely a shell of what they used to be. Hopefully they're going to find some leadership at Boeing that can take them back to where they used to be. Maybe they find somebody from the ranks of the workers who actually knows a lot about planes, how to build them, how to manufacture them, and the problems they're having with their manufacturing. Because let's face it, guys, Boeing products, starting with that 737 MAX and the crashes with that, the door flying off mid-flight, and a lot of issues with, riveting and, Boeing's production, the quality of their production. Hopefully they're going to find a leader who can bring them back, make quality the most important thing. People's lives are at stake on these airplanes, guys. So hopefully Boeing will be a company that can be a turnaround someday. If you're a person who's a scavenger, kind of bottom feeder, looking for distressed companies that might have a shot to come back, I haven't really done any charting on Boeing. I haven't really done much research, but it seems to me like this is a company that would have a pretty good chance at making a comeback if they can get all their issues in order. Anyway, that's it for the day, guys. That's it for the week. Let's wrap this puppy up, man. I really appreciate everybody's support, everybody being here. Looking forward to a nice weekend. Got some plans. Got a birthday party for a friend to go to tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. Got UNLV running Rebels tonight, 6 o'clock. Man, we're going to kick Utah State's ass. Got the Bills on Monday night, so looking forward to a full weekend of football, family, friends, relaxation. We'll be back to the madness on Monday for sure. And hopefully we'll see all of you guys here. In the meantime, everybody have a super awesome, fantastic, restful, relaxing weekend. And we'll see everybody on Monday. Until then, everybody, take care. Thanks.